Well, hey, howdy, hi. Welcome back to my channel. Thank you so much for stopping by to join me today. I really do appreciate it. My name is Ellie, and I'm a witch. This over here is my teaching assistant, Andy, and today is Monday, and on my channel that means it is Misheard History, and today's history topic is corsets. If you are new to my channel, this is a series where I take a history topic you may or may not have learned about in school, and I tell you the truth behind it. If you're not interested in history, I do have two other series on my channel. On Sundays, I talk about cryptids, and just yesterday I talked about the cryptids of South Dakota. And on Tuesdays, I talk about true crime, and tomorrow's case is going to be on the Turpin family. But yeah, let's just jump into talking about corsets. So corsets have actually been around for centuries and have served different purposes over the years. Now we see evidence of corsets dating back to the Minoan civilization, which goes back to the 27th century BCE. We see figures of the snake goddess wearing what is presumed to be a corset-like garment. We also see another artwork of the time showing both men and women alike wearing them. The first physical corset that was found was actually in a tomb in Crete, and when analyzed, it was verified to be made of linen and wool. Now, these original corsets were likely only worn for religious ceremonies rather than an everyday basis. Greece is where they found the next example of corsets, and they were also made of linen and wool, but were decorated with gold or silver threads and had beading or other embellishments. By the Middle Ages, corsets had become less and less popular, as loose-fitted, modest clothing was the norm. People valued comfort over style. As corsets came back into fashion, they were no longer outer garments, but that were highly decorated, but rather an undergarment. Originating in Italy, other European countries began accepting it in their societies. The French court adopted the corset in the 1500s, stating it to be an essential to the female body's attractiveness. Now, these corsets were tight, elongated bodices. As England and other European countries continued to adopt the new addition to the wardrobe, it began to change. A busk started being added, and that is a long piece of wood or whalebone that is inserted into the corset to help it maintain its shape. This gave rise to the term boning, since it was whalebone predominantly being used. A stomacher was also added in the new design, and that was a V-shaped structure that laid over the corset on your abdomen. Later on, ruffles began to be added to the bottom of the stomacher and were called the farthingale. Into the 17th century, corsets were still made from linen and whalebone, along with reeds, and the laces were made from either linen or hemp. During this time, men and women both wore corsets. The fashion was once again changing as sleeves began to be attached to the corsets and lacing became more intricate and ornamental. Some women were even adding ribbons to add more flair. We also see the corsets become fabric set over the boning core. Around this time, we also start to see health issues in younger women who would tight lace the corset for fashion. Now, bone dresses have also been found, and many believe that some of the health issues and tight lacing were from women wearing both a corset and a boned dress, which I will not be doing and do not recommend. The 18th century brought about a more restrictive version of the corset. Being made of harder materials and tighter stitching, it gave more of a cinched look. These were long-waisted with narrow backs, wide fronts, and shoulder straps. The goal for this era was to make the waist look smaller than the hips. To achieve this look, the ribs and stomach were compressed, and cuts in the lower part of the corset allowed for more room for your hips. This style of corset is commonly called a stay. The 19th century saw the corset become more about bust support. The waistline was brought just below the bust line. However, in the 1830s, the corset became a dual purpose, supporting the bust, but the waistline returned to a more natural position, so it also supported the waist. The hourglass figure was popular at the time, so the cinched waist and bust support helped achieve the figure. Boning was also now made of more than just whalebone, and steel was also being used. The front of the corset was flat, while the back was curved. Once again, they were decorated with frills, lace, bows. The compressed ribs and stomach was still a very popular style, worn by most. In 1839, Jean Worley crafted corsets using a loom, which were popular. However, they were replaced by machine-crafted corsets in the 1890s. Previously, corsets had been handmade and generally at home, so this made it easier for people to have multiple corsets while not wasting hours of time. In the early 20th century, we see Edwardian corsets come along. Now, these were less constricting and focused on bust support while having a slimming effect on the waist. While still being decorated with lace and bows, a more natural look was preferred at the time. In the 1920s to the 1930s, the corsets changed a lot. This was the flapper era where we get flapper corsets. Gone are the desires for an hourglass figure. Instead, women of the time opted for a more rectangular look. This meant that corsets were not constricting and the boning was stiffer to achieve the box look. Now, during World War II, corsets fell out of fashion due to the war. The metal that was being used as boning was more needed in the war efforts, so corsets stopped being worn. The only people wearing corsets or corset-similar clothing were overweight or pregnant women, and these were more for bust support and they were considered girdles more than anything else. It wasn't until the 1990s that corsets came back into fashion and saw an even larger resurgence in the 2010s. Now, the modern corset is shorter and less constricting, still being decorated with bows, ribbons, frills, and coming in a wide variety of styles. The goal with the modern corset is to get the wearer's achieved look, generally an hourglass figure, while being comfortable and providing support. Most people don't wear them as undergarments anymore, as we have a variety of other undergarments that do the same job. Corsets have become popular as lingerie or outerwear. You can also see corsets being used to treat conditions like scoliosis in some cases. Always speak to a doctor before looking into this as an option, but many people have had a lot of relief and it can minimize spine curvature. The key, get a customized corset, and since that can be tightened as the spine straightens, they're generally more cost effective. And that is all that I have for you today. Thank you so much for stopping by and joining me today. This one was a really fun one. I personally have always loved corsets. I own at minimum 15 corsets currently, from corsets like this to the bone dress and corset adjacent items. I like this style, not the tight lacing style. That means you can't breathe. Please, if you wear a corset, you need to be able to breathe. I know that a lot of people want to achieve the hourglass figure, and you can do that without tight lacing it so hard you can't breathe. The corset is naturally meant to indent in the sides. You don't want to hurt yourself, and if you need to loosen the strings, loosen the strings. Nobody's going behind you to check to see how loose your corset strings are. And you have a lot of shows like Bridgerton that show all of these girls who don't seem to have ribs or they're spilling out of their corsets, and it is uncomfortable. You do need to be able to breathe. People do have ribs. Not all of us are, blessed. But please, if you do decide to wear corsets on a regular basis, just do it with caution. You can give yourself some really severe issues. You can break ribs. You can cause permanent damage to your diaphragm. And overall, it's just not a good idea to mess with that. So if you wear it, if you want to wear it tight, don't wear it for long periods of time, or make sure that it's loose enough that you can breathe. So I do say don't wear it too tight or don't wear it for too long, but I know that I also sounded out of breath at certain parts of this video. That is because I changed multiple times. It is not particularly easy nor fun to get in and out of corsets constantly, especially some of them, because this one is a lace, and so I can button it in the front. The one with the straps that I put over the white dress was it's a side zip. And that is really difficult to do alone, to try to zip that up on the side of your body. But I also do have breathing problems, which is why I don't personally wear corsets for long periods of time. The only time I'll wear a corset for a long period of time is for Ren Fair, which I go to maybe once a year. So it's not for long periods of time. And if you need to take it off, or you think you're going to need to take off your corset, please wear something underneath it. I choose to wear more of like a pirate, very frilly shirt underneath, and that way if the corset gets too much, I can take it off and carry it around with me. Nobody's judging you. It is hot, and they also are sweating and can't breathe, so nobody is judging you for that, but please just pay attention to your guys' health. But yeah, I hope that you guys also enjoyed the video. If I missed any fun facts about corsets, please let me know. And thumbs up this video if you don't mind. And if you want to see more of us, you can subscribe, or Andy has his own Instagram. We should be going on a little adventure this weekend, so you'll probably see something there. And if anybody is curious as to where all of my corsets came from, I get them all from A Corset Story. They are wonderful. They have a lot of really good deals on a lot of different styles, and I highly recommend checking them out. But with all that being said, I hope that you guys have a great rest of your day, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye!